Well, today's mushrooming adventure was absolutely insane. Partially due to the diversity of mushrooms we found, which look really messy in these baskets for good reason, because we got completely lost in the woods. So it was kind of like the mushroom hunt was maybe a couple hours long. Then we got lost, like entirely lost. Had to follow a creek down to the bottom of the mountain, find our way to a road, and then jog up the road over 5 miles to get to our car. Just to barely make it out by dark. So it was Priest Lake, kind of west side of the water. And after all the rain we've been having, it was just absolutely insane. So let's look at a couple of key awesome things. First of all, the Chanterelles, which was kind of the goal, we didn't find until we were well lost. Like we were struggling, like my knee was giving out, my hip was all weird, Jessica was slipping and crashing, Titan was sweating it, and we were like in full stress mode. And then all of a sudden we came across a chanterelle patch and found probably like 4 pounds of just absolute beauties. So that was really cool. The big haul would be the honey mushrooms. They were infinite, absolutely infinite. So we grabbed like plenty. This is not something we're gonna need a ton of. Here's some really nice like primo specimens that are still button. Honey mushroom, really cool. Some woolly chanterelles, which are pretty. Most of the books say they're not edible, but they are. You just have to be kind of careful. Not everybody wants to ingest these. You can get a little bit of gastrointestinal issues, but only some people. Most of the time they're pretty fine. Oh, these are a gem. Alavella Lacunosa.
Found a lot of those.
Yeah, and they're one of these mushrooms you usually find a couple of in the fall. If you spot them, because they're like very elusive. But we found a lot of these. I mean, like probably 10 times this, maybe more. And they're just the most kind of ghostly, awesome looking, fluted.
Oh yeah, show them the bottom.
Black and gray.
Love how they look.
But these are also edible. And usually they're just not something you really think about because they're not in mass. But today we got plenty. So we're going to cook them up. Yellow feet. These are cool. And not something I found a lot of in the wild. When I ran Mushroom Resource and sold wholesale mushrooms, I used to buy these from the coast and sell them in the restaurants a lot. But finding them in the woods was pretty cool. So they're chanterelle family. Hollow stem, yellow feet, like they're called. Really kind of delicate, yum chanterelles. We found a bunch of cool boletes, which we'll see which ones we end up eating. I got to do a bit more research. This is that, I think mirabilis, Boletus mirabilis, but dark and dark, pretty distinctive. Doesn't stain, so it's an edible. This one does stain, so this one I need to do a little bit more research on, but I think it's the Boletus bicolor. That's the best guess I have, just based on it being red and yellow, which is kind of distinctive of that mushroom. Does stain blue. And we'll try to post some photographs. We took a bunch of really good photographs while we were out.
Here's another pretty.
Oh yeah, that's probably another one of the mirabilis.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of really nice bolete specimens that we'll probably end up eating. One shrimp russula, which is just one of my favorite mushrooms to find. I didn't show you this one yet, honey. But the purple russula. So the cool thing about russula, it's been picked for a few hours now, so it's not quite as pungent. But russula, once you know this genus, it breaks like chalk, and usually has kind of pastel-y top. Doesn't leak any milk. All the ones aren't peppery or edible, so you can kind of nibble on them. If they're peppery, spit it out. No good. But if it's not edible and you know it's a russula, it's edible. So there's a bunch of ones that are edible but not necessarily delicious. This one happens to be delicious.
Oh, what about these?
Oh yeah, coral I'm not super familiar with in the fall. In the spring, coral mushrooms are all fair game. They're all edible. In the fall, there's a lot more varieties out there. So you can see this one's like bright orange. This is kind of like pale yellow orange. So we need to do a little bit more research. If they're edible, then they're awesome, and we eat these all the time in the spring. I did find some wood's ear, which are probably buried in here somewhere in the honey mushrooms.
This one is so cool too.
What did I do with those woods here? Those are really
Whole wheat.
something I do not find very often. Well, woods here
They're buried.
you've probably seen them
Right here?
on. No, those are the ones. Those are the cup fungi.
No.
Okay, well, I can't find the woods here anymore,
Oh, that's
but they are really popular in Asian markets. And we found some. Those are not them.
What are these?
They're a cup fungi, more of a fragile one. When I first spotted those, I thought they might be, but they weren't growing on wood the way I expected. Dang it, I wanted to show you guys a woods here. Fresh, because you only see them dried. Oh, there's one. They're really like gelatinous.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and they're like cooked in a lot in stir fries and such. This one I'm an ID. I don't actually know it. But I just have a kind of an interesting feeling about it. So to me it looks like an Agaricus, which is like the store-bought mushrooms. And there's a bunch that grow in the woods. But it's got this really white, kind of veil-ish margin. And that white creamy stuff is sort of taking over the whole thing. And they're really kind of buried in the duff. So they kind of are reminiscent of a trichiloma or something. But they don't have that same morphology. So I don't know what they are. But they're distinctive enough, I think we can ID them. So that's something I just want to check out. And then I know you probably already saw this in the video, but Ammonite specimen, just an absolute gorgeous.
Yeah.
Not a prime edible. I mean, every book tells you it's poisonous. A lot of cultures do eat this, but you parboil them several times to get the toxins out. They're all water-soluble toxins. And I have eaten these in the past by doing that, and they're really delicious, but that one we'll probably just enjoy the beauty of. There's probably more gems in here.
We just have so many we need to sift through.
Yeah, we're just excited to share, and well, it's fresh. Kind of fresh looking. We would have typically spread them out a little more than this. But again, we were out in the woods for 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
I barely can walk. Like, I'm not gonna like give you a demonstration, but my whole like knee and hip are like seized up.
Yeah. We trekked
It's bad.
about 5 miles through some serious deep woods.
Yeah, I mean, all we were trying to do is just follow the creek. But you can imagine, like, all this is old growth national forest, and so everything's just like we're just crawling like this, like through the gnarliest shit, just to make sure we're near the water, because that's the only way we don't
Lifting
get
our
home.
dog up over stumps and like fallen trees and such.
Yeah, and schlepping the baskets, of course.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a really exciting trip. Getting lost in the woods was a nice lesson in terms of having some better landmarks. Good tip if you are a mushroomer. Don't take it for granted, because I'm really good directionally, at least I think I am. But then you get off trail and you're just like, oh, look at that beautiful mushroom. Oh my God, look at that amazing one. Whoa, look at that. Next thing you know, you're in another dimension and you're like far from where you thought you were going to be. And we had no intention of this being like the patch. We just got lost and wrapped up in it all. So good lesson. Glad to get out before dark. And it was like down to the wire.
Yeah.
And we're beat. But
Wanted to share mushrooms with you.
yeah. So happy mushrooming.